The greatest man in the history of Christendom never speaks a single word in the Bible. Not one line, no Sermon on the Mount, no dying words of wisdom. In a modern world that idolizes the loudest voices, the influencers, the politicians, the alpha gurus screaming for attention, Joseph's silence stands like a granite mountain. If you interpret his silence as weakness or a lack of personality, you are missing the point entirely. His silence isn't an absence, it is a weapon. It is a declaration of war against the false definitions of masculinity we have been force-fed. We live in an era trapped between two extremes: toxic masculinity, with its aggression, dominance, and ego, and passive weakness, the checked-out father, the nice guy who takes no responsibility. Joseph offers a third option, the path of the protector. This story isn't just for the religious. It is for every man who carries the weight of a mortgage, a family, and the crushing expectation to keep it together. We are going to strip away the Renaissance paintings of the frail old man holding a lily. We are going to look at the grit and the sweat of the real Joseph, to uncover three laws of power: control, sacrifice, and action. First, delete the mental image of the elderly saint. The historical Joseph was a Tekton. In English, we translate this as carpenter, implying someone who whittles wood. But in 1st century Judea, a Tekton was a builder who worked with heavy stone and rough timber. He was a manual laborer. He was young, physically imposing, with calloused hands and the kind of functional strength that comes from swinging a hammer and hiking the Judean hills. He was the kind of man you'd want standing between you and a threat, but muscles are useless against the storm that broke him. Imagine the gut punch. The woman he loved, his betrothed, was pregnant, and the child was not his. To understand the weight of this, you have to understand the honor-shame culture of the time. In that world, reputation was currency. It was life. A fiancée pregnant by another man wasn't just a heartbreak. It was a public humiliation. It was a scandal that stained his entire family line. The law of Moses gave Joseph a clear path: expose her. The penalty for her adultery could be death by stoning. The community expected it. His wounded ego demanded it. The whispers of the neighbors were already starting. Look at him, the fool who got played. Joseph stood at the edge of a precipice. On one side, his pride, the law, and the satisfaction of revenge. On the other, mercy, and a woman he loved who was now a social pariah. This is where Joseph made the decision that defined his manhood. Before the angel ever showed up to explain the divine plan, Joseph had already decided. He chose the quiet divorce. He chose to absorb the shame. He decided to let the world believe he was the one walking away, that he was the bad guy, just so Mary wouldn't be paraded through the town square and stoned. This is lesson 1. Strength is restraint. Real power isn't about what you can do to others. It's about what you can endure for others. It is the ability to keep your sword in its sheath when every instinct screams at you to strike. It is the mastery of the ego, but the test of his honor was just the warm-up. The test of his survival instinct came next. The tyrant King Herod, paranoid and bloodthirsty, ordered the slaughter of every male child in Bethlehem. Joseph wakes up in the middle of the night. A dream, a command. Rise, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt. Notice the urgency. There is no negotiation. There is no why me. Or, God, if this is your son, why don't you send a legion of angels to fight Herod? Joseph simply rose. He woke his wife. He packed their meager belongings. He left behind his home, his workshop, his tools, and his reputation. He took his family into the dark, heading toward Egypt, a land that was historically the enemy of his people, a place where they would be foreigners, refugees, nobodies. Picture that journey, the cold desert nights, the constant threat of bandits and Roman patrols. Joseph wasn't a soldier, but that night he became a warrior. He became the human shield between the most powerful empire on earth and the fragility of a sleeping infant. He couldn't fight Herod's army, so he outmaneuvered them. He outlasted them. In Egypt, he had to start over. No one knew he was of the royal line of David. To the Egyptians, he was just another immigrant looking for day labor. He likely broke his back carrying stones, sweating in the foreign sun, just to put bread on the table for the savior of the world. No applause, no recognition, just the grind. This is where the philosophy of ite ad Joseph, go to Joseph, was forged. He proved that the true leader is, first and foremost, the first servant. What can a man in the 21st century learn from this silent builder? First, action over announcements. We live in the age of the status update. Men talk about what they are going to do. They post about their hustle, their gym routine, their business ideas. Joseph never spoke. He just did. He didn't post a rant about Herod. He evacuated the family. He didn't write a book about parenting God. He taught the boy how to hold a plane and shave wood. The lesson is simple. Stop announcing your moves. Build in silence. Don't just tell your family you love them. Change the oil in the car. Pay the tuition. Fix the broken fence. Show up. Let your results scream so loud that your voice isn't needed. Second, the guardian archetype. True masculinity provides a perimeter of safety. Look at your life. Are you the source of chaos in your home? The one whose mood swings make your wife and children walk on eggshells? Or are you the buffer? Joseph's role was to absorb the chaos of the world, the politics, the danger, the poverty, and transmute it into peace within the home. He took the terror of the flight to Egypt and made it an adventure for his son. That is the burden of the father. Third, sublimating the ego. Joseph knew he wasn't the main character. He was raising a son who was infinitely more important than he was. He was married to a woman who was chosen by God. A lesser man would have been jealous. A lesser man would have grown bitter, living in the shadows of such greatness. Joseph didn't. He embraced the shadows. He understood that his glory was not in being the star, but in being the foundation upon which the star could rise. Joseph disappears from the Bible before Jesus begins his public ministry. He likely died in the quiet years at Nazareth. He never saw the miracles. He never saw the resurrection. He never saw the victory. He only saw the work. He labored for decades to protect and provide for a mission he would not live to see fulfilled. He is the shadow of the Father. A shadow doesn't draw attention to itself. It provides relief from the scorching sun. Here is your challenge today. Do not just read this and scroll to the next video. Pick one hard thing in your life that you have been avoiding because it offers no glory. Maybe it's an uncomfortable conversation, a tedious repair job, or an apology you owe someone. Do it today, and do it in total silence. Don't tell your friends you did it. Don't look for a thank you. Ask yourself, If my life is a wall protecting those I love, is that wall standing strong? Or is it cracking under the weight of my own ego? Be the man who doesn't need to speak to be heard. Be like Joseph,